What's going on YouTube? It's Universal Fragrances here, and we are back with another video. This is the top complimented fragrances from the House of Amouage in my collection. Now, if you see some that you think should be up here, go ahead and put your most complimented list down below. This is an opinion, and it's actually not my opinion. These are obviously compliments other people are giving me. If you notice right off the bat, there's a couple of my favorites that you've seen in my previous Amouage videos that are not even in here. So like Royal Tobacco, Interlude 53, Epic 56, wonderful fragrances, and they get a lot of compliments as well, but these actually get more compliments and they seem to be more sincere compliments. And that is really, you know, someone might say, oh, you smell good. And then other people are like, man, what are you wearing? And they legitimately want to know because they have an interest in possibly purchasing it for themselves or a significant other. So let's make this somewhat brief and let's get right into it. Not all of these in order, some of them are. I just want to confuse you guys so you didn't know the order right off the top, but number 6 is Fate Man from the House of Amouage, Fate Man. And this may be a surprise to some people, maybe not to others. This fragrance smells way better in the air than it does close to on skin, especially when you first spray it on. You definitely get heavy notes of cumin in there, but it's a very interesting fragrance, man. You got like notes of absinthe in there, immortelle flowers. You still have the classic Amouage feeling with some of the resins like the frankincense and other notes like that in the fragrance. So you do have that house familiarity with Fate Man, but it's a very dry, woody, spicy fragrance. And it's a give and a take because with the absinthe notes in there and a little bit of the licorice, it almost gives it like a little bit of a resiny, watery type of feeling too. So it's dry, watery. It's just very intriguing, man. And every single time I wear this, it seems like somebody is saying something or asking me what I'm wearing. And it's definitely a genuine compliment because they say they've never smelled anything like it before and they actually enjoy it. So what this fragrance does in the air around you, maybe a little bit like Wall Street with Bond Number 9, to where if you do smell it too close to skin when you first spray it on, it's just a little bit too much. But what this fragrance does in the air around you, it really seems to be an intriguing fragrance to most people. And I was surprised that it beat out a lot of other fragrances on this list, some that I personally like better, even though I have always liked Fate Man and thought it was an interesting fragrance. But yeah, Fate Man, number 6, a little bit of a surprise to me, but it is a very good fragrance if you give it a chance. Very good blending and a lot of unique ingredients in there. So number 6, Fate Man. And number 5, we're actually going Beach Hut Man. I told you guys they weren't in order. Beach Hut Man is another one. When I first tried it, I think I remember I did like a 10 subscriber special with some Amouage samples. And I didn't dislike Beach Hut Man too much, but I wasn't in love with it. And this is one of those fragrances, a lot like Overture, it grew on me. And Beach Hut Man is not very much beach vibes. It's got a lot of mint. It's a very green and resiny fragrance as well. And the one reason I'd probably say that I didn't like it that much at first is because of the mint and the resiny notes. You almost got like a little bit of a Carmax vibe, which is like a lip balm that comes in a metal tin. Some of you guys out there may know what it is, but a lot of people more up north use it because your lips get chapped during the winter. But it did have a slight Carmax vibe. But now that I smell it and I've worn it on skin, it is really, really good. It's grown on me a lot. I'm going to be using this a lot during spring and summertime. And again, kind of like Fate Man, every time I wear Beach Hut, it seems like somebody says something and they're wanting to know what I'm wearing because it is a very fresh, green, woody fragrance. You know, certainly appropriate for spring or summertime, but it is powerful enough to where you can wear it all year if you're looking for a nice, like minty, fresh fragrance, maybe for the winter time. So don't discount Beach Hut Man. I had a couple of the older samples. This is the newer packaging. Thankfully, nothing has changed with it. Not really that difficult of a fragrance to replicate either. There's not a ton of like rare or like batch dependent ingredients in there. So very good job with them on Beach Hut Man. In a lot of ways, I'm glad it's the exact same as the old samples because I grew to enjoy it over time. So number 5, we're going Beach Hut Man. Now number 4, this has not been in any of my list in terms of some of the Amouage fragrances. It's something that I did like a lot. I liked Reflection 45 a lot compared to the original version. The original version, to me, it just smelled like kind of like clean laundry and dryer sheets, and it was a little too powdery. It just, quite honestly, wasn't an interesting fragrance at all to me. I could see why people would use it as an easy grab and go or for a signature scent because it is a nice like freshie. But Reflection 45 really takes this to the next level you get a lot more like wood and like green notes with it. It still has a little bit of that fresh powdery vibe. So if you like the original Reflection Man, that still is a little bit prevalent in this DNA. But the thing they did with 45 is they added a lot more stuff that made it feel like a true Amouage. You know, not only did they increase the oil concentration, but I believe it was the addition of tonka bean, frankincense, opopanax, and there's a couple other ingredients. If you look at the lists and you go on Amouage's website and compare the two, the original Reflection Man with the Reflection 45, there is a lot of resinous and deep ingredients that are in Reflection 45 that are not in the regular Reflection Man. And to me, that helps not only with, you know, just the interesting and, you know, depth components of the fragrance, but it really just makes it feel more like a traditional and a true Amouage, where, you know, not hating on it at all, but the original Reflection Man, any house could have released that and you would have just been like, okay, it's okay. It's not a bad fragrance, but there was nothing in the original one, at least to me, to make it feel like an Amouage. And Reflection 45 took that and flipped it on its head. You know, as soon as you smell this, you kind of get that, you know, you're smelling something from the house of Amouage if you were to smell it blind compared to the original 45. So for that reason, I love it. But again, it's more about compliments. And every single time I wear Reflection 45, somebody seems to say something. They're like, man, you smell really good. Like, what is that? And I'll tell them it's Reflection 45. And a lot of times they see the price and they're like, okay, well, never mind. But, you know, it's just the genuine curiosity when somebody compliments you. There is a difference when somebody says, oh man, yeah, you smell good. Or like, yo, what are you wearing? Because they legitimately want to know. And they have a genuine interest in that fragrance. Again, whether they're going to be purchasing for, you know, for themselves or for the significant other, they have a genuine interest in what the fragrance is. So Reflection 45, again, it wasn't very high up in some of my other lists, but it is number 4 on my most complimented from the entire house of Amouage. So number 3, it is not Epic. It is actually Jubilation 25. And I was going to bring the 40 extrait on this video, and it would kind of just be redundant because in the air from a distance, the 25 and the 40 extrait smell very, very similar. You still get that heavy, you know, frankincense and smoked honey with the black currant. The Reflection 40 extrait does have a little bit more of like a woody, nutty, gourmand kind of quality to it, with maybe a little, you know, fresher, more menthol heavy rosemary note. But other than that, the DNA of the fragrances are almost the exact same. I've always loved this stuff, used it quite a lot compared, you know, when you look at everything in my collection, how kind of I rotate fragrances. I've only had this about maybe 8 to 10 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. So for some of these bottles, you can see some are more used than others. Beach Hut I got, and I'm going to be saving that more for spring and summer coming up this year. But Amouage Jubilation 25, I think I speak for a lot of people, especially when you get it in this packaging. I've heard the new one may not be as good. That comes in the newer packagings. I can't speak to that because I've only had this version and the one that came before it, which was in the white non-magnetic cap, and they both smell almost completely identical. Some people say there's slight differences, but they really, in my opinion, they're the exact same. So Epic is another one that's going to be number 2 on this list. Now, Epic Man is one of those fragrances where it's a little bit, again, kind of like Fate Man, where it kind of throws you for a trick. When you first smell it, with the berry essence and the frankincense and some of the spices, you think it's going to be kind of like a blue-green fragrance. And, you know, for the first hour to maybe an hour and a half, depending on your environment and how much you spray, that is what Epic, you know, Man is. It's a very blue-green, spicy fragrance. You got some interesting spices in there too. You got mace. You know, the dense base notes are very typical of Amouage. You have the frankincense, oud, musk. You know, again, at the top, you got a lot of, you know, kind of sweet berry notes kind of combining with that citrusy and resiny frankincense to where it does give it a slight blue-green vibe. But this one just gets tons of compliments, man, especially from women. Whenever I wear it, it seems like a woman says something to me. It's always been one of my favorites. When I tried the sample, it's something that really caught my attention. Again, it's got a really nice opening, very approachable, kind of like Jubilation 25. I would say these are 2 of the more approachable fragrances from the house of Amouage for like men's fragrances. But they're not basic, and it's nice that they're still very interesting and they still kind of retain that Amouage feeling, you know, with all the base notes in there. I think Jubilation 25 as well still has real ambergris at the base. So they just throw a lot of stuff at these fragrances, and they're very deep, they're very developmental, and they all seem to last quite a long time, you know, especially the Reflection 45 being a 45% extrait. But yeah, man, Epic Man, number 2 on the list for most complimented, and probably one of my only favorites that made the list is also just happens to be a lot of other people's favorites. And I don't think it's any secret that Silver Oud is probably going to be a polarizing fragrance for a lot of people, just because, yeah, it's a little bit earthy, a little bit smoky, a little animalic, but it's got a really nice kind of burnt sweetness to it. Very woody as well. Just extremely dense and developmental. One of my personal favorites, and I'm glad that other people seem to like it as much as me, and they seem to like it on me as much as I like wearing it. That just really makes it a solid contender for number 1, and it is number 1 on my list. You know, every time I wear this, somebody says something, and again, much like a lot of the other ones that have, you know, gone in the top of the list, very much a genuine curiosity as to, you know, what the fragrance is that I'm wearing. A lot of people, they've never smelled anything like this before. Silver Oud, it's just unique, man. Silver Oud is just a very unique fragrance. It's not going to be for everybody. But again, even if you may not be a fan of these types of fragrances, much like I was with Fate Man and Beach Hut Man, it's one of those things that you could wear it and get compliments on it, and you may not like it a lot. That's personally not something I'm into. I usually wear fragrances that I like, and then if somebody happens to compliment it, it's just an added bonus. But you know, I would give Silver Oud a chance if you're looking for compliments, especially from women. Women seem to love it on you. It's a very masculine fragrance. It's something a lot like Neiman Lion and some of the other fragrances like Ether from Xerjoff. There's no confusion to whether that fragrance, at least in my opinion, is unisex. It's definitely a masculine fragrance to where you smell it. Again, you don't even have to see the man walking into the room. You can smell it and saying, yeah, that's a man wearing that fragrance. That's a man walking into the room. So for that reason, I love Silver Oud, but people seem to love it on me as well. So that is number 1 on my list for the most complimented. Again, you know, if you guys have differing opinions on that, or you guys have people who compliment certain other Amouage fragrances that you wear, you know, leave your list down below. It's always interesting for people to see, you know, kind of what gets the most compliments from the House of Amouage. And, you know, a lot of these surprised me. You know, I would say that Silver Oud, Epic, and Jubilation 25, not really a surprise for me. I've always loved those fragrances, and other people have always seemed to love them as well. But at least for me, compliment factors like Reflection 45, Beach Hut, and Fate Man, those surprised me at some of the other, you know, fragrances that they beat out for my collection. So again, guys, great seeing you again. I'll be doing some more videos soon. I got Unique and Luxury, Beverly Hills. I've got Mashumaro coming, Kute, and a couple other ones. Not from Unique and Luxury, but I got, what else did I order? I ordered Teroni from Orto Parisi, so I got a review coming up on that. But all that will be in the next couple weeks, so I'll see you guys soon, all right? Bye.